They called him the Diesel.
Crank up that diesel. Let's go.
He leaned across the table and he goes, "You need to get me back there. I'll make you famous."
And Riggins, good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone. He's gone.
It's Riggo, the Diesel.
Well, thank you for joining us today. This is Riggo the Diesel. I am Riggo. This is Larry Michael, your voice of the Washington Redskins. This is episode 53.
Wow.
And we are off and running.
53.
It's hard to believe.
What happened to the first 52? Seems like only yesterday.
It does. Well, it seems like 44, like you were just saying a second ago.
Yeah.
It was just yesterday. But you know what's hard to believe, Larry? For me, anyway. We're 10 weeks into the season. I mean, that's just incredible. It seems like, seriously, you guys just got back from Richmond.
Yeah, a lot's been packed into these 10 weeks, too.
There is.
How do you begin to recap what's happened this season? And I saw Bill Callahan this morning, talking to him a little bit. You know, obviously he's grinding away. This is a guy he's not going to relent. But he says, hey, we've got a long way. We've got 6 games left.
He does.
It's a long way to go, John. Long way to go in this season. The team got to find a way to win.
I think I've already had the conversation with him, but I'm thinking, do you think somebody would consider maybe replacing Coach Callahan because he's not getting the job done?
I don't think you
I just talked to Pepper Rogers. He's available.
Yeah, I'm sure he's all over the latest trends. But you know what?
Just had to throw it out there.
It's a tough situation, and I think Coach Callahan, one of the things he talked about at the podium was, you've done a lot of stuff, and he has. I mean, they work out in pads. Guys of your generation, I mean, Doc and Beamich, and I know maybe not you so much, but these guys are, they need to be working out in pads more, This because the guys have gotten soft. Well, Callahan has really changed that, changed the schedule. I think the guys have bought in. I think that the referees on the sideline helped until last week. Something happened last week. They forgot everything they'd learned the previous couple of weeks. But the fact that the results haven't been there, though the work has increased, and it seems like the players have bought in. So it's a little frustrating. But I think he's going to continue to do what he's doing. And each week's a different week. And now you do have to look at the maturation of some of the young talent.
Right.
As much as I like to say week to week, you got to win in the National Football League. But, everybody's got half an eye on next year.
Or you have to.
Yeah.
I don't see how you can get around that. You look at on Sunday. I mean, this is where some people are kind of scratching their head. And I get that. I might say this though, with the pads, they can only be in pads so much. They've only got so many practices by.
I thought that was the rule, but again, maybe they had worked out so infrequently that they've got a lot of dates.
They got like
stacked
sick
up.
days, right?
They've been. What do you call that, Todd? You carried them over, or what?
Use it or lose it?
Yeah, accrued. They have the accrued padded days. They have accrued padded practices, and the accrual now.
That's how it works.
Maybe they must be pulling some from the last couple of years. Maybe I don't know.
Maybe, but
I know that doesn't appeal to me.
I don't know.
That's just me.
I haven't heard anybody griping, but I haven't been asking them, so I don't know.
Well, it's kind of at that point, whatever it takes. I think they're not unlike just what you said, is that the part that people are kind of scratching their head about, though, is this comes on the heels of a bye week where you had 2 weeks to get ready for. Now, you're not getting ready for the New England Patriots. You weren't getting ready for, again, for the San Francisco 49ers or, Seattle Seahawks. Let's just say one of the better teams in the league. You were getting ready for a team. Now, this can be deceiving too, though, Larry, because they had come off of a victory over the Giants, and they were coming down here, and they're looking, one of these deals where you got two teams that both of them feel like, hey, I think we're better than you. The Jets came down here knowing they had a chance to win this football game, and having gotten the victory the week before certainly helped their momentum to get ready for the game and prepare. And Washington hasn't had that feeling since they beat Miami down in Miami, so it's been a long time since they got their last victory. But that, to me, was a little bit where the defense, and that's where this thing almost has to start, I think,
yes.
At least our conversation today,
I think so.
Is what in the hell has ever happened to this defense? I mean, I feel I'm embarrassed personally because I look like I don't know what I'm talking about, but we all know that that's not the case. But when I said before the season started that the defense, I thought, had a chance to maybe do something really remarkable.
To be a very good defense.
Yes. And, in all honesty, I mean, there were moments here's the weird thing. everything about this team they have done at time, whether it's offense, whether it's defense, and even special teams. I mean, you got to count Tress Way a lot in that. They've played well at times, but they've never ever put anything all together in a game where they went out and took care of business, and early into the second quarter they had taken control of the game, had everything under control. They just haven't done that.
Well, on the offense, I don't think I would have seen this coming because I, obviously thought they were going to win. But if you looked at it, the Jets took away what the Redskins do best, which is run the ball. And that's Callahan. And have they run it great? No, but they've tried to establish the run. Peterson is a great running back. If you give him the ball, he's going to get some yardage. So they took that away. They also knew that you had a rookie quarterback. They also were aware that the Redskins hadn't scored in like 150 quarters.
Yeah.
And, okay, so it was going to be hard against that Jets defense.
And Greg Williams happened to be there.
And Greg Williams.
Defensive coordinator.
Need to mention him. Greg Williams, I'm always going to throw everything but the kitchen sink at the kid.
Right.
Which you kind of knew that going in. So, you're going to think the Redskins are going to score 35 points. I don't know. But the big shocker was the defense. The big shocker was that tight end, Griffin, number 84. It knew nothing about that guy running open in massive gaps in the secondary. That I would say T-Cat could have thrown that ball on a couple occasions. I've seen him. He used to be very athletic. I know age has taken its toll on T-Cat.
Oh, no, he's still right there.
Age has taken its toll.
Yeah. He's still got it going
He's got
on.
all kinds of small issues, but nothing that wouldn't stop him from being able to throw a 20-yard pass to an open tight end.
No problem at all.
Right? So I think we got to go back, and you're right. You go back and you address the defense coming off of a bye week. Maybe some guys got a little healthier. They didn't get it. They didn't certainly get any more hurt during the bye week, unless it was doing something like me and you normally do over the weekend. So, I don't know how you explain it. How do you explain it? I don't know how to explain it.
Here's the other thing, Larry, and I was talking to Clinton Portis about this just a second ago. That when you look at just what you said earlier about you got to win week to week. You win it. You go in. You want to win every game, and I get that, and clearly that's the case. But as you said, you can't help but thinking about next year because you got to be honest with yourself and look in the mirror and say, I think this year's pretty much done. And that being the case, then I'll give you a hypothetical situation. Let's say you knew for a fact that you could run Adrian Peterson 30 times this Sunday and you get a victory because somehow he'd make 130, 140, maybe 150 yards, and that'd be enough to keep the ball away from Detroit and you're going to score more points. Or you go out and you let Dwayne Haskins throw the ball 40, 50 times. You don't know exactly what the results are. You might win the game. You might lose the game. But he's going to get what he doesn't have, and what is so invaluable is experience. Which way do you go with that? I mean, to me, that's really kind of a paradox, or paradoxical in the sense that, well, you want to win. Well, okay, you're going to win but at the same time, he's going to be handing the ball off all day. He's not going to, how does he grow from it? Because I think at this point, don't you think, Larry, that his growth is really, I think, paramount to the offense as opposed to the victories, unfortunately. I mean, I don't know else how to say that. I mean, you go out trying to win the game, but you're going to try and do it in a way that improves your team in the long run.
To some degree, I agree with you. I guess it is contingent upon what defense you're facing, because the other team, depending on where they're at, if they're a playoff caliber team or if they're trying to get in the playoffs or whether they're in the same situation as you're in, Detroit kind of sort of is. They're 3-6-1. Stafford's out. He's got broken bones in his back. They're not going to risk putting him back in. I haven't dived into it deep enough to know. They aren't the second-rated defense against the rush like the Jets were last week. So to answer your question, I mean, I think you have to – it's contingent. Last week against the Jets, you are suggesting that maybe Haskins would have thrown it 40 times because they stopped the run. Redskins didn't rush the ball that often. I think Adrian Peterson had 9 carries. Geis had 4 or 5.
Right.
So I think they wanted to throw the ball, and he got sacked 6 times, and you saw with your own eyes how that turned out. So it's a tough call, man. It's a real tough call.
It's like a fluid situation. You might go in with an idea. Well, really, when it's all said and done, any game is a fluid situation because years ago, we would play teams like the Giants. They'd come up with a defense you'd never seen before. You'd have to make adjustments at halftime to come out and finish out the game based on stuff that you weren't prepared for. So I can see where the game can go in a certain direction. All of a sudden, you have to change your plans.
I want to remind everybody listening to the Riggo the Diesel podcast that Riggo the Diesel is brought to you by McCarthy Services. We thank them for being a big part of Riggo the Diesel.
All right, I've been telling you for a long time. Well, I do. I keep telling you every week about O'Connor Plumbing. They're an outfit that I work with. I think they're first class. They do a great job. They don't try to upsell you. The great thing about them now, though, is they understand that a lot of people work Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, 9 to 5, whatever the hours may be, so you're not home. Well, now they've got it to where you can call them after you get home from work, have them meet you at the house, and they don't have any overtime charges from 8 in the morning to 8 in the evening, Monday through Friday. Same thing is true on Saturday, 8, but it's only till 4:30 on Saturday. No overtime charges. And if you're a little worried about something, you got a problem, you got a problem, and you think it's a little bit more than you can afford at that particular moment in time, call O'Connor Plumbing. They've got a financial package they can work out with you, and they'll work with you so you can get the work done so it doesn't become even worse than it is, cost you more money down the road, and that's who O'Connor Plumbing is. And there you can give them a call at 1-833-RIGGO-44, 833-RIGGO-44, O'Connor Plumbing. You should be dialing them up as soon as you get off or get done watching this podcast if you got a problem with your plumbing.
All right, join the Redskins and youth entrepreneurs during the Global Entrepreneurship Week as a former NFL MVP. Actually, he is the only kicker to ever win the MVP, Mark Mosley, sharing his entrepreneurial journey at 1 Million Cups, Thursday, November 20th at GW School of Business at the Marvin Center. From football to Five Guys, you won't want to miss hearing what Mr. Automatic's story is. And Mosley has quite a story to tell. To learn more about
none of it has to do with football.
Yes, that's exactly right. What a guy, man! He's a unique guy, great guy. He's got a.
He still looks like he could kick the football, literally.
Yeah, he's had a few ailments.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he's still got the skin-tight jeans on. Maybe he's wearing a smaller pair, but, I'm just
skin-tight jeans.
The thighs still look bulbous, the butt cheeks. I mean, Mo's got it going. Still got the curly hair.
He's got the hair working.
I got a little bone to pick with Mo's, though. Years ago, I've never said anything to him. He got a perm years ago.
Yeah, well,
so I've got naturally curly hair, so people suspected me of getting a perm.
Yeah, no, you had the curly hair.
Mine's not. Yeah, I had the mohawk. I actually had a fro mohawk. That's hard to do.
Fro-hawk.
I had a fro-hawk.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And John Amos used to say you had the booty too.
Yes.
Anyway, learn more about Mosley and bringing youth entrepreneurs engaging hands-on learning to your classroom now. Visit getye.org. That is getY-e.org. Youth entrepreneurs.
Hey, I'm bored, I'm broke, and I'm back.
Who's bored? Who's broke? And who's back?
I wanted to always see the redwoods. I wanted to see the Rocky Mountains. I wanted to see the Painted Desert, the Petrified Forest, the Grand Canyon. That was like the land that I always wanted to go to.
John Riggins.
All right. Let's pick this up. We're talking about the football team, obviously, and about the loss to the Jets. There is something, though, that's kind of, I don't know if it's gone viral or whatever you'd call it, but there was a picture obviously taken where you have Dwayne Haskins on the sidelines and gathered around.
I'll fill you in a little bit on that. That's not supposed. You're not supposed to be shooting video back there. That's NFL. That's NFL Films territory.
Well, and I'm surprised that the actual cameras wouldn't, during the broadcast wouldn't have picked that up. And I think they did a little bit. I can't.
There's a long story to that one, which I will not share on the podcast, but. There's argument. There's stuff going on the sidelines every game, John. I mean, you know what? Every game, and usually, as for what you did all those years, it's a very intense game. It's a violent game. People's tempers get flared, and internally, externally, with your coaches, with your teammates. Take a look at Gary Clark. If Gary Clark had been playing football during social media, he would have been the all-time social media darling. Because on the sideline, he'd throw a tantrum just about every game.
Yes,
every game. And, now you look at this and you say, oh, look, I think Dwayne was showing leadership. I thought the guys were in the heat of the battle. Much ado about nothing. It's gotten a lot of play because for some reason they don't want to give this kid a chance. A lot of members of the media don't want people. I mean, again, and if you got a job to do in the media, and if your job is as a commentator or a radio show host, and you got to fill 4 hours a day, then I understand you're going to say a lot of stuff, and you got to come up with content. You got to come up with material. But when I hear about this guy, so I'm going to give him 2 more games to show me what he can do. Well, how can you? Everybody is judged differently. People come into this league at different levels. This guy is young. This guy's inexperienced. He's got a lot of talent. He's smart. He's a great kid. Let him grow a little bit. We knew that this was going to be a growing experience. And so how about week to week, let's see what he could do. Last week, a unique set of circumstances. Home, playing at home, especially, I give you an analogy for boxing.
Right.
So if you fight at home, it creates all kinds of pressure that you normally don't have. Guy locally here, Jared Hurd, loved the kid.
You mean fighting in front of your home fans?
Yes. He's super middleweight champion, unified. He fought at the Patriot Center or whatever they call it now at George Mason, and he lost his title back in May. And I can tell you there, I was sitting in the corner with my son, literally in the corner with the guy, because, got a few connections, John, so I was up in there.
Yeah, you probably would.
And and Jared and Swift's family was behind me, and they were yelling the whole time, and there's times where he'd be looking over at him. There's a distraction. And what happens before the game drains your energy, all the salutations, all the extra stuff. You need to be there with your mind clear to be able to learn everything you can, absorb everything, and you need help from your teammates. So what happened on the sideline happened. I think you see it 20 times during the game, but it's troubling that some people just don't want to give this kid a chance to mature. He needs the time. He needs to mature. And he needs the time to do that. That's the bottom line.
Here's what I would say, and I don't know exactly what was going on, but in this sense, when you look at it, you have to look at it. I'll give you something I looked up because it reminded me of something I'd read years ago. I was never in the military. But you get into a situation where a lot of times, years ago during the Vietnam War, they had what they called 90-day wonders. You may have heard of them, but they were officers, lieutenants, that were quickly run through an officer's training program and then shipped to Vietnam, and they were given a position of leadership over there. And the truth of the matter was that you had a lot of guys that had been in country for a year or so, sergeants, people, and NCOs that knew exactly what was going on. Well, a lot of times, because the officer had been trained and he was green, he didn't know what to do. And you get into that situation where the NCO does. And that's kind of the way I looked at that thing on the sidelines. I don't know exactly what was going on in everybody's minds, but the visual is the optics of this whole deal is whatever was going on, it could be construed, and this would be a learning curve because I went through the same thing with the New York Jets, is when you're a rookie, the only way you're going to get the veterans to take you in and adopt you, so to speak, is you got to produce out on the field. Talking doesn't get it done.
Right.
You don't talk because they've been there, they've done it. I mean, you got Donald Penn there. He's been in the league for 15 years, 14 years.
Right.
He's played a lot of football. He knows what's going on out there. And so I think in that situation, you can't assume anything, and you're not entitled to anything. Because you're a first-round draft pick. You have to come in and you earn it. And so far, that hasn't happened. And that's all it gets down to.
Well, how many games is it? How many games do you give him to earn it?
Exactly, but he has to do that. And if you do things ahead of time, because unfortunately, I think, just everything you said about him, I think is true. I'm talking about Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah.
But the one thing that he might want to make a correction is he's in his head right now. And I've always said it's like in acting. When you're acting and you're in your head, you're not acting anymore. You know what I mean? You're doing too much stuff.
Right.
Same thing with football. When you're in your head and that ball is in play, you're not playing football anymore because you're not reacting. And when you tell yourself, I've got to be a leader and go, you're in your head, you're not leading because you lead by your example of what you do out on the field. And I think that's a valuable lesson that he'll figure it out and he'll adjust, because I don't think the same thing will happen again, because I think it just is a natural tendency for a veteran to kind of go, okay, kid, it's okay. We've got this. Just you do your job, we'll do ours. I think that's the way it comes down to.
Well, I think you're right. I think you're 100% right. And then, and whether it was trying to lead or trying to, get some
Well, I'm sure that's what it was.
Getting some communications
Right.
going. He is a new voice. He is a new voice.
And
as
you don't
leader.
have a voice until you actually bust some grapes out there.
There you go.
Or
there you go. And I understand there was a game in Mexico, huh?
Yes, there was.
A game in Mexico. I wasn't really up. I did watch part of it. I know there's some problems with the field and all. But you spent time down there, haven't you?
Yeah, you sent me down there for crying out loud.
For Westwood years ago.
Yes,
And
2005.
you came back, and what were a couple of the most difficult situations you faced down there? Did you face any tough situations?
No, but let me tell you, it's in Mexico City, and I know that I can't remember. I'm sure we were told don't leave the hotel, and that's pretty much true. You know, and stay together. And
right.
And I did. I mean, I went down. I did that every time anyway. Would go didn't care where we were. But here's what really fascinated me, Larry. It was Azteca, I think, is the stadium they played in.
Azteca Stadium, yeah.
And I went in, Larry, just walked into the stadium. There was, I mean, I'm not so sure there was over 100,000 people at that game back in, 2005, I think. And it's interesting. It was Alex Smith's rookie year because he was playing, for, I guess, what was it, 49ers, I think.
Was it 04 maybe? Was it 04?
Maybe it was 04.
05?
I can't remember. It's 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But
well,
I had to put my glasses on, and then my wife
you're
would
not
chew me
supposed to
out
wear your
for-
glasses, John.
I know. That's what my wife tells me.
Stevie,
So
you're
anyway,
gonna
I'll
have to
take
cut
them
this
off.
out of the video. With the
It's not that
glasses.
important. But yeah, so my point was I remember thinking, I think I remember asking Commissioner Tagliabue about that, but he didn't want to talk about it because we interviewed him because I think this was the first international game that had been.
So this is after 9/11.
Mexico.
This is
Right,
after, but
exactly.
still in Mexico.
Shortly after, and there was, I mean, the security. I got to be honest.
No
with you, there was
security.
no security. I walked in. There were people walking in the same place. I don't know if they had tickets. Didn't have tickets. You didn't need any credentials. We just walked in, went to our press box.
Really?
Yes, it was pretty incredible. It's
a little scary. I wonder what it was like
I
last
thought the
night.
same thing. I'm going, man. If I'm Al Qaeda, which were a going group at the time.
Yeah.
I'm thinking this place would have worked out pretty good for me.
Yeah, but the cartel's not going to let Al Qaeda step on their turf like that. That's that could be.
That'd be a good one right there.
Yeah, could be.
I just thought of
Yeah.
something, Larry. That I would go. I would like to see this. A battle royale. The Al Qaeda against the Mexican cartels.
Wow.
Yeah, that would be a good one. We could sell that.
I think that'd be violent. That
That would be
violent.
good. Maybe the winner takes on ISIS. I don't know. Huh?
Cats and sharks, and it ends up a dance-off.
So you're talking about want to do kind of like a Final Four bracket.
Yeah, exactly. So
The
you got
Final Four
ISIS,
bracket.
you got Al Qaeda, huh?
Taliban.
The Taliban, and then throw
And
in.
the cartel.
I think you got the 4. They all 4. We would vote them in.
Okay,
Exactly.
well, we'll wait for the seating to come out. Riggo the Diesel is proudly brought to you by McCarthy Services. Like any great roster, the Virginia Lottery's lineup of holiday games features different and impressive stars. Let's take a look at the lineup. For $1, you can play the Naughty or Nice Scratcher. That is Todd's favorite. The $2 Holiday Cash Game. The $5,000 Overload featuring 300 $5,000 prizes. The Holiday 7 Multiplier Scratcher. That's a good one. The $600 Holiday Bonus Cash. Don't forget to play the holiday-themed e-games on your mobile device. With Mobile Play, all you need is the Virginia Lottery app to be a lottery retailer. Give the gift of Virginia Lottery holiday games. And helping people improve their lives is what should drive business. That's the belief at Koch Industries, which employs more than 65,000 people across America. The team at Koch working together to meet the world's changing needs. Transportation, medical care, water filtration, household goods, energy-efficient building products, and everyday technologies, all while consuming fewer resources. See the innovations firsthand at kochindustries.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, stand back and watch the Phoenix rise from the ashes.
Stand back. It's Riggo the Diesel.
Sorry, Larry, I got to ask you, Virginia Lottery, do they have a game where if you got an itch, we got to scratch you?
I know there's a scratch and sniff game, I think.
I've
I
played
think
that
there's a
before,
scratch and sniff
actually.
game.
But that game's universal. I mean, it's
yeah.
been played it's been played since the beginning of time.
Virginia Lottery, man, you got to give it to them. Coming up with different ideas,
Seriously?
being innovative. Maybe the scratch and sniff is right around the corner.
We
That'd
can
be-
only hope.
Good
Well,
one.
it's
for
not
the-
like when you go to, a lot of times you go into these men's stores or women's stores, and don't they have that little perfume they get? No, it's in magazines. You scratch this, and
yeah.
and that's the smell of the perfume or cologne.
Todd anoints himself with those pieces of cardboard. He opens them up and he rubs them on his neck.
Hey, save it
And
money.
he doesn't have to buy cologne that way.
Exactly.
All right. Well, hey, you know what, John? You ever seen anybody hit in the head with a helmet that's being swung? You ever seen anything like that? No, you've been.
I can't
you
remember.
played in the
I've seen
rowdy
plenty
days
of
the
helmets
NFL.
swung, though.
Did
I mean,
ya?
that's the whole reason. T-Cat and I were talking about this on the way out here. That's the whole reason that Brandon Sheriff got a penalty on Sunday for taking his helmet off.
Yes.
That automatic penalty to remove your helmet for any reason.
Right.
I'm trying to see, but if you got a gash in your forehead and you want to take your helmet off, I wonder would they pick that flag back up? Is what I should.
They'll
say.
try to suit you through your birdcage.
That's a whole nother ball game. But yeah, it's funny because I didn't know about this. I went deer hunting. I might tell you about that over the weekend. And the night before, I was talking with some gentlemen, and they told me about it. I said, "What?" So they pulled it up on YouTube or whatever, and I saw it. And really, the really thing that I think saved the QB was the fact that he hit him with the open end.
Right.
The way they described it was he hit him with the helmet, like the end that's all plastic or
Right.
the side.
That's hard.
Like what they used to use to spear people. And I personally thought, my God, when the quarterback jumped back up or whatever, I was going, how's he still on his feet? Then in slow motion, you saw
It was the bottom of the helmet. Actually, could have
Exactly.
caught him with that bottom edge, which would have been painful too.
or hitting the side of the head with that
Yeah, I
thing.
mean, he's lucky he didn't get hurt
that
bad.
Potentially, that was a deadly weapon, and that's like I said, that's the reason they do it. I hate to say this, but I think there's a certain amount of truth in it because I don't know exactly because I've been to NASCAR events, and I think there's a certain element about the danger of the sport that attracts people, and there's always that morbid curiosity about a catastrophe.
Yeah, I think
and
so.
I think that not unlike in hockey, which I still think they haven't eliminated it. Right, you can duke it out still in hockey.
Yes,
correct?
legally.
They
Huh?
did it last night. in the
Legally.
Cavs game.
They threw down.
Exactly. You can still throw down in hockey. So my thinking is that people they don't mind seeing a little scuffle down on the field. Now, obviously, the NFL says there's no place for it, but I'm just telling you from a fan's perspective. And the NFL is very sharp when it comes to all this stuff because they also know what the fan likes. One of the things is they've changed to where it's more passing nowadays because they like to see more points.
Right.
They like to see the long pass. I agree with that. But I don't think you can ever eliminate. I don't get it personally. I never would have gotten a fight one time, but the guy was so much bigger than me, I just didn't figure that it was really worth my interest.
Not Doug Atkins.
Thank God it wasn't Doug Atkins. No,
guy's
that's
a
like a death
monster.
sentence if you pick on Doug Atkins. You're not going to survive that. Might have had a chance in this situation, but I never was drawn into that. I mean, you've heard him talk about in baseball. I think about where they, when there's a fight they expect everybody to clear the bench. Haven't you heard that?
I think they do, but in basketball, you come off the bench and you're out, right? If you come off the bench, and they'll look at the video
Thank
and
God.
see who came off the bench. Probably since the Malice in the Palace
Which
that
is
happened.
the anniversary of that is today.
Really?
Malice in the Palace.
Malice in the Palace.
Is today.
And the hyperbole on this on the helmet swinging, it was violent, it was ugly, and I'll tell you what Roger Goodell said yesterday. I actually had that quote on Redskins Nation today, and I kind of remember what he said, but he was like, this is the worst thing we've ever seen on a football field. This is the worst thing we've ever seen in sports. There have been a few, the Malice in the Palace where the fans are getting beaten down. That was pretty nasty, okay?
What's his name? The kid from
Ron
Artest.
Ron Artest.
Jermaine O'Neal.
Stephen Jackson.
And Jermaine
They
O'Neal.
went up into the stands, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and actually Ron Artest tried to sleep his way through it, but he was laying down on the scores table. Or remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was...
He did what now?
Well, he had a lot of... he was an emotional guy.
Yes, he was.
And so-
I interviewed him years ago when I was
Did
up
ya?
in New York City for
Well,
CBS.
as this thing was breaking down, he said, I'm not going to get involved. I'm going to lay on the scorer's table, and he's just going to sit there. Maybe someone had taught him, when you feel angry, go lay down.
Sure, count to 10.
But then he couldn't help himself.
It was just
Yeah.
too much fun.
Drinks were
Yeah.
flying.
He thought he was back in the hood. Let's
He
roll.
was a Golden Gloves boxer. Ron could throw down.
Oh,
He was?
He was a bad man.
Yeah, he was a
And-
bad man.
But back to Myles Garrett, Roger Goodell had this to say yesterday. He says, we might meet with him after the season is over.
Maybe.
Meet with who?
Garrett, Myles Garrett.
Oh.
And that just struck me. We might meet with him when the season's over. And you better meet with this guy when the season's over because it's an indefinite suspension. But then he said something I really agreed with. He says, We want to see if he's remorseful. We want to find out why he did it. We want to be assured
because he started it, right?
Yeah. He was giving the guy the business. And of course, Mason Rudolph escalated a little bit, but want to see if he's remorseful and want to know, be assured that something might not happen in the future that would cause him to do this again, because this was a violent act. And like you said, if he had hit him in the head, I mean, people were saying he could have been killed. I don't know if he could have been killed. If
I think you could kill somebody with a helmet.
Well, big dude like that, 265-pounder, swinging that thing is heavy, and that because that's meant to protect your head.
It's like a bowling ball.
Yeah, it's meant to protect your head, not hit you in
the
head.
velocity with which it could be swung at.
Yes,
I think it could be. Like I said, it's a lethal weapon.
So
no question
that's the. I hope you never see anything like that again. But again, sometimes the tempers get the best of people, and that was a chippy game from the beginning. And what'd you think about Pouncey, who punched and kicked Miles Garrett? Now, Pouncey gets a 3-game suspension for coming to the aid of his quarterback who could have gotten seriously hurt. Did Pouncey get the right punishment, 3 games? And what'd you think about his actions?
Well, first of all, I think it really stupid. It's every man for himself. I'm not going to get messed up. You're beating up my quarterback. Hey, he probably needs it. Get his uniform dirty. I mean, come on.
Wouldn't it come to Joey T's rescue?
Hey, now, you know what? Seriously, if the brawl, I'm looking around. Is anybody left on the bench besides me? I mean.
So you wouldn't come to the aid of Joe T?
I get paid to play football.
Joe T's getting beat up. You ain't going to come out and help Joe T?
So John was proactive, and if you leave the bench rule.
Exactly.
Oh, so he's ahead of his time.
I was already thinking,
I'm
going to suffer the brunt of this because people are going to call me a coward. But, I'm actually going to establish some law and order here. They're going to change the rules where if you leave the
always ahead of the curve, Riggo.
Exactly. I'm not leaving the bench. I'm sorry. I'm a conscientious objector. What can I tell you, Larry?
That might be a good way to end this.
I think we should.
Thank you.
I will see you next week.
It's a deal, brother.
Okay, holiday gift for Sarah. What do I know about Sarah? She's tall, blonde, likes coffee. Coffee gift card! Gah, come on, you can do better than that. Is there a great gift for tall people? I bet anyone would think to get her that anyway. I need special, super duper unique, a gift that wows. Yeah.
You could brainstorm the perfect gift forever, or avoid the risk of disappointment and give the gift of holiday scratchers from the Virginia Lottery.
And now, time for another Honda highlight. The air was cold, but the deals were heating up at the Happy Honda Days sales event. With the entire versatile roster on clearance, all signs pointed to victory. Turbocharged tandems like the Accord and Civic, or all-wheel drive SUVs like the CR-V, HR-V, Pilot, and Passport. With clearance pricing, everyone's a champion.
Have your own Honda highlight with a clearance deal during the Happy Honda Days sales event. Now at your local Honda dealer.
Locally owned Novec has competitive rates and some of the highest customer satisfaction ratings among electric utilities in Virginia. Novec members are receiving more than $4 million in cashback credits in December, and they enjoy the most reliable power in the region. Novec is growing its renewable energy supply, including more solar. Novec, power you can trust.
Is your heating system ready for colder weather? An annual heating system tune-up from McCarthy Services will help make sure your system is working properly and efficiently to keep you warm and save money on your heating costs. Schedule your annual heating system tune-up today with McCarthy Services for only $29. But do it fast. This outstanding special ends soon. McCarthy Services, heating, cooling, and plumbing. Visit McCarthyHomeservices.com. License number 27051429447A.
McCarthyHomeservices.com.